the world awoke, unaware of the seismic shift that had just occurred. To a reality, a stark and unsettling truth that would dominate headlines and conversations for weeks to come. Few believed possible, a scenario relegated to the realm of geopolitical simulations and worst-case analyses. In the early hours, under the cloak of darkness, a decision was made that would alter the course of history. Of June 22, 2025, a date etched in infamy, marking a turning point in international relations and global security, the United States launched, initiating a military operation of unprecedented scale and consequence, devastating airstrikes, a calculated display of force intended to cripple a nation's ambitions, on Iran's most sensitive, strategically vital, and heavily guarded nuclear facilities, the very core of its controversial nuclear program. The Pentagon confirmed, in a carefully worded statement, the commencement of military action, the attacks, acknowledging the gravity of the situation and the potential ramifications, marking a dramatic escalation, a dangerous leap into uncharted territory. In Middle East tensions, a region already simmering with conflict and instability, years of diplomacy, painstaking negotiations, and fragile agreements, and sanctions, economic pressures designed to curb Iran's nuclear ambitions, to contain Iran's, to limit its capabilities, and to prevent the development of nuclear weapons. Nuclear ambitions, the pursuit of a technology that could reshape the balance of power in the region, have been obliterated, reduced to rubble in a swift and decisive military operation, in a single night, forever altering the geopolitical landscape. This is far more than another covert operation, a clandestine mission hidden from public view. America's direct intervention, a bold and unambiguous statement of its strategic interests, is a paradigm shift, a fundamental change in the way the U.S. approaches foreign policy in the Middle East. The White House called it, in an official statement released shortly after the strikes, a necessary defensive action, a justification for the use of force in the name of national security, to avert what they perceived as an imminent threat. A nuclear-armed Iran, a scenario that Washington deemed unacceptable and intolerable. But the world, the international community, and global leaders is left reeling, struggling to comprehend the magnitude of the event and its potential consequences. Asking, demanding answers, and seeking clarity amidst the chaos. What happens now? What are the next steps? And what will be the ultimate outcome of this act of aggression? The strikes were executed with precision and efficiency, meticulously planned, years in the making, with every detail carefully considered, involving long-range bombers, strategic assets capable of delivering devastating payloads, and naval assets, projecting American power across the region, targeting the heart, aiming directly at of Iran's nuclear program, its research facilities, and its enrichment capabilities. This was not simply warning shot, a symbolic gesture intended to send a message. It was undeniably crippling blow, designed to incapacitate Iran's nuclear ambitions for years to come, to decades of Iranian, years of dedicated effort, scientific work, research, and development in the nuclear field. Washington's message is clear, unambiguous, and resolute. The U.S. is prepared to use force, resort to military action if necessary, to stop Iran, to prevent them at all costs, from getting the bomb, from acquiring nuclear weapons capabilities. As the sun rises, casting its light upon a world forever changed. The world is undoubtedly more dangerous, fraught with uncertainty and peril. Than it was yesterday, the stakes have been raised and the risks have multiplied. The era of the time of shadow wars, proxy conflicts fought in the shadows, may be over, potentially coming to a close, replaced by open hostility. A new era of direct confrontation and escalating tensions. The immediate consequences, the short-term effects of the strikes, are still unfolding. The situation remains fluid and uncertain, but the long-term implications, the lasting impact of these events, could reshape the region, fundamentally altering the political and security landscape of the Middle East, and the world, with far-reaching consequences for international relations and global stability. The strikes represent a pivotal moment, not an end, not the conclusion of the conflict, but the beginning, the commencement of a far more, a significantly more volatile chapter, a period of heightened risk and uncertainty. In this crisis, a defining moment that will shape the future of the region and the world. The American assault, a meticulously planned operation, showcased advanced military technology, pushing the boundaries of modern warfare. It was a display of power and precision against Iran's most fortified nuclear sites, a direct challenge to their ambitions. Natanz, a key facility in their nuclear program, and Fordow, a site deeply embedded within the Earth. These facilities, buried deep underground, designed to withstand conventional attacks, required the Pentagon, after careful deliberation and strategic planning, to deploy GBU-57, a weapon specifically engineered for this type of challenge. Massive ordnance penetrators, a symbol of American resolve and technological superiority, bunker busters, capable of breaching even the most formidable defenses, designed to destroy, with pinpoint accuracy and devastating force, what conventional bombs cannot. These weapons represent a paradigm shift in military capabilities. Fordow, hidden within a mountain, a fortress of stone and steel, was long thought invulnerable, a testament to the engineering prowess of its builders. Its targeting signals, a clear indication of America's intent to neutralize the threat posed by these facilities, to inflict maximum lasting damage, sending a message that no target is beyond reach. Natanz, housing thousands of centrifuges, the heart of Iran's uranium enrichment program, was hit with the goal, a strategic objective, of collapsing underground halls and rendering the facility unusable for years to come, and crippling Iran's enrichment capacity. This strike aimed to significantly delay their nuclear ambitions. Seismic data confirms, beyond any doubt, multiple massive detonations indicating the scale and intensity of the attack, consistent with bunker-busting munitions. The seismic signatures paint a clear picture of the destruction. Fordow's strike in particular is both a strategic, calculated move and psychological blow. Undermining confidence in their defensive capabilities, no site is safe, regardless of its depth or fortifications, from American reach. This demonstrates a commitment to preventing nuclear proliferation. The attacks have rendered, for all intents and purposes, Iran's nuclear infrastructure, significantly damaged and degraded, inoperable for the foreseeable future. The extent of the damage is substantial and will take years to repair. The message, clear and unambiguous: nowhere is safe, no matter how well concealed, for Iran's nuclear ambitions. The world is watching, and the consequences are real. The world has witnessed, in stark reality, the limits of fortification when faced with overwhelming force and advanced technology shattered by American firepower. A decisive demonstration of military might. Iran's most defiant sites, once symbols of their nuclear program, have been reduced to rubble. A stark reminder of the consequences of defiance. The era of invulnerable, impenetrable underground bunkers is over. The landscape of modern warfare has been irrevocably changed. In the aftermath, confusion and fear gripped the regions around Natanz and Fordow. Eyewitnesses report thunderous explosions, fireballs lighting the night, and thick smoke billowing skyward. The destruction is catastrophic. Underground halls collapsed, surface buildings reduced to rubble. The greatest concern now, radioactive contamination from uranium hexafluoride gas released by the strikes. With Tehran enforcing an information blackout, the true extent of contamination is unknown, leaving civilians in peril. Hospitals are on high alert, but casualty figures remain secret. For ordinary Iranians, distant geopolitics have become a terrifying reality at their doorstep. The IAEA has requested urgent access, but Iran's response is uncertain. The physical damage is clear, but the invisible threat of fallout haunts the region. Tehran's response is swift and furious. Ayatollah Khamenei condemns the strikes as an act of war, vowing severe consequences for the US and its allies. Iran threatens to withdraw from the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, ending international oversight and opening the door to unrestricted enrichment. State media rally citizens, promising a crushing response and declaring all US bases in Israel as legitimate targets. The risk of missile strikes and regional conflict is now real. Iran's network of proxies, Hezbollah, Iraqi militias, the Houthis, are on alert. The world braces for asymmetric attacks, from oil tankers to cyber warfare. Tehran's vow retaliation will come on its own terms. The strikes send shockwaves through global institutions. The IAEA calls an emergency meeting, desperate to assess damage and potential radiological release. At the UN, the Security Council scrambles for a response as the Secretary General pleads for restraint. US allies in Europe express alarm at the escalation, urging diplomacy to prevent wider war. Russia and China condemn the US, deepening global divisions and paralyzing the UN's ability to act. Middle Eastern states, especially Saudi Arabia and the UAE, are on high alert, fearing Iranian retaliation. Gulf nations call for calm, terrified of being caught in the crossfire. The American strikes, meant to solve a problem, may have ignited a regional firestorm. The world's diplomatic machinery is struggling to keep up. The Middle East teeters, a region historically known for its volatility, now finds itself at a particularly precarious juncture. Decades of conflict, political instability, and economic disparities have created a tinderbox, ready to ignite at the slightest spark. On the edge, a dangerous precipice overlooking a landscape of potential devastation. The slightest push could send the entire region tumbling into chaos. Of regional war. The drums of war are beating louder, fueled by escalating tensions and a complex web of alliances and rivalries. Iran's threats are backed, its rhetoric growing increasingly bellicose, signaling a willingness to assert its influence through force if necessary. By missiles, a clear demonstration of its military capabilities, and a stark reminder of the destructive power at its disposal. And proxies. Iran wields considerable influence through non-state actors, extending its reach and complicating the geopolitical landscape. A single strike, a miscalculated attack or an act of aggression could trigger, setting off a chain reaction of retaliatory measures and escalating the conflict beyond control. All-out conflict, a devastating war engulfing the entire region, with potentially catastrophic consequences. With the US and Israel, these nations, staunch allies, have a vested interest in maintaining stability and security in the region, and their involvement could significantly alter the dynamics of any conflict. The risk of miscalculation in this volatile environment is exceptionally high, where tensions are frayed and communication channels are strained, is dangerously high. A single error in judgment could have far-reaching and devastating consequences. The crisis threatens, extending its reach far beyond the borders of the Middle East, the global economy, casting a shadow over international markets and disrupting trade flows. Nearly a fifth, a substantial portion of the world's oil, a critical resource that fuels global industries and economies, passes through, navigating a narrow and strategically vital waterway. The Strait of Hormuz, a choke point for global energy supplies, now at risk. The threat of disruption looms large, with potential consequences for energy security and global trade. Even limited attacks, even small-scale acts of aggression on shipping, targeting commercial vessels and vital trade routes, would send oil prices soaring, impacting consumers and businesses worldwide, and disrupt, creating bottlenecks and delays in the flow of goods, fragile supply chains. The interconnectedness of the global economy means that disruptions in one region can have ripple effects across the world. Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, nations already grappling with internal conflicts and instability, and the Gulf states, oil-rich nations with strategic importance, could all be drawn in, pulled into the vortex of a wider conflict, opening new fronts, expanding the geographical scope of the war, and increasing the complexity of the conflict, and endangering millions. The human cost of such a conflict would be staggering, with countless lives lost and communities shattered. The dream, the aspiration of a stable Middle East, a region free from conflict and violence, has been replaced, supplanted by the nightmare, the grim reality of multi-front war. The prospect of widespread conflict looms large, threatening to engulf the region in chaos. Humanitarian catastrophe looms, threatening to overwhelm the region's already strained resources, with millions at risk, facing displacement, starvation, and violence. And refugee flows, a mass exodus of people fleeing the conflict, set to overwhelm the region. Neighboring countries and international organizations will struggle to cope with the scale of the humanitarian crisis. The Pandora's box is open, unleashing a torrent of unforeseen consequences. Military. The deployment of armed forces and the escalation of military activity, economic, the collapse of economies and the disruption of global markets, and human costs, the immense suffering and loss of life, threaten to spiral, threatening to descend into a chaotic and uncontrollable situation, out of control. The situation risks spiraling into a full-blown regional war with devastating consequences. The world watches with bated breath, hoping diplomacy, the art of negotiation, and peaceful resolution can contain the fire. The hope remains that cooler heads will prevail and prevent the region from descending into all-out war. This moment is the culmination of years of shadow war between Israel and Iran. Cyber attacks, assassination, sabotage. Israel vowed to prevent a nuclear Iran, but America's direct intervention marks a historic shift. Previous U.S. administrations stopped short of direct strikes now. America is a primary combatant. Intelligence likely indicated Iran was nearing a nuclear threshold, prompting preemptive action. The U.S. has transformed a regional struggle into a direct superpower confrontation. For Iran, it's now a fight for survival against the world's most powerful military. For America, it's ownership of a conflict it once tried to manage from afar. The Rubicon is crossed. There's no return to the old status quo. The stakes have never been higher. The strikes, meant to halt proliferation, may have triggered a new nuclear age. If Iran leaves the NPT, it can pursue nuclear weapons unchecked, with the world blind to its progress. This could spark a regional arms race. Saudi Arabia and Turkey may seek their own bombs. The taboo against military strikes on nuclear sites is broken, undermining decades of non-proliferation efforts. The NPT's grand bargain is in jeopardy. Non-nuclear states may now see weapons as their only security. The global order on nuclear arms is at risk of unraveling. The actions taken to stop one bomb may inspire many more. The shadow of nuclear conflict looms larger than it has in decades. The world faces a future more uncertain and more dangerous than ever. As the dust settles, the world waits for Iran's next move. Retaliation is certain, but its form is unknown. Will it be direct missile strikes or asymmetric attacks by proxies? The UN Security Council faces a test of global cooperation, with alliances shifting and mediation desperately needed. Oil markets and global economies are on edge. Any disruption in the Strait of Hormuz could trigger worldwide panic. Every action now carries the risk of uncontrollable escalation. The coming days are critical. Troop movements, missile alerts, and diplomatic statements will shape the crisis. The strikes of June the 22nd of May be over, but the crisis has only begun. The world is watching and waiting.